This is the Horse Radio Network.
This is episode 402 of the Dressage Radio Show on the Horse Radio Network, brought to you by Total Saddle Fit, Kentucky Performance Products, and Fairfield in Lexington. Tonight is going to be a bit of a shorter show, but we've got great tips and discussion later as Nora Batchelder joins us for a trainer tip.
This is Reese Koffler-Stanfield from Loxahatchee, Florida.
And this is Philip Parks from Rockwood, Ontario, and you're listening to the Dressage Radio Show with our producer, boss, CEO, Glenn.
Hey, guys.
Hi,
It's been a while.
guys. Oh, my gosh. We love it when you're on, Glenn. You've been so busy traveling.
Doing stuff, new shows, all kinds
Doing
of things
stuff.
going on.
Awesome.
But let's talk about that first. We'll get it out
Yeah,
of the
I was
way.
going to say, what's been going on?
Give us the update. What's going on?
Yeah, what's going on?
Horse Radio
Update
Network.
us.
Well, we have the new World Equestrian Game Show with Samantha Clark, who you know, and I have started the World Equestrian Game Show. It's called the 2018 WEG Show, and we started it 2 episodes ago. We're going to do 2 a month until WEG, and then we'll do a daily wrap-up show every night, all 14 nights of WEG. We're very excited that one of your sponsors, Kentucky Performance Products, has come on as a title sponsor of the WEG Show.
Yay,
So
Karen.
thank you, Karen, for doing that. She was very excited about it, and Samantha's a wonderful co-host. For those that don't know Samantha, we did the 2010 radio show for the WEG in Lexington, working with Alltech and everybody down there. We had a blast. It was such a popular show that we decided back in the United States again, we're gonna do a show. So we started it. What we're doing in the early days here is we are actually doing a 101 on all the different disciplines. So on the second episode, we did eventing. We kind of do an eventing 101, how it works at WEG, what the rules are. We have a past WEG competitor on, and also for every discipline, we have chosen a spotlight rider. And our criteria for that is they have to be somebody that has never been to a WEG before but is really trying hard to get to the next one. So it's an underdog, and we follow that underdog in their whole process. When we did this in 2010, they all became hugely popular with the listeners. Jessica Phoenix of the Eventing World, a Canadian, was the one
Fantastic.
she was a
She's
nobody back
lovely.
then. Matter of fact, we just had her on this last episode to catch up. And she said, this is like old home week, because she really was an up-and-comer and nobody had heard of her. And then we kind of highlighted her for a couple of years, and she's been a friend ever since. And that worked the same way across all 8 disciplines. So we're looking forward to getting to know all the new spotlight riders. And we'll have dressage. The next episode we do will be driving, and then we'll do dressage. So and Reese and Philip are helping me with who we're picking there.
Get the person.
Yeah,
Love
so
it.
we can't announce it yet because I haven't agreed yet, but but we will be announcing that, and I might be getting one of you to come on and help explain it too. So, but you know what the thing about the WEG show that makes it different is your show pretty much follows dressage, right? So with the WEG show, because there's 8 disciplines, people get to learn about things that they wouldn't normally learn about. You'll get to learn a little bit about reining, a little bit about vaulting, a little bit about para dressage. You get to learn about driving. So you get to have a base knowledge on all the things going into WEG. So instead of just following one thing during the World Equestrian Games, you kind of can follow everything and have somebody to root for, even in sports you don't care much about. So that's why I think the WEG show was so popular for 2010. And we were just babies then, the Horse Radio Network. We had just started. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
I know.
I didn't even know you, Glenn.
no,
Yeah.
that's right. I barely,
right.
I knew Reese, I think.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I came and hung out a
That's
couple
where
times.
we met. Yeah, that's
and
when we met, was
Yeah.
during the lead up to WEG. But so
So
we're
there
excited.
you go.
Yeah.
It's going to be a whole
I
new
don't actually
experience this
remember when
time.
we met, Glenn.
I know.
I don't remember. I don't
Jennifer
really
saw
remember
you
when.
at a talk. You did a talk
Yeah.
in town for something. I don't remember what. But you did a talk, and she was so impressed, she came back and said, that girl knows how to talk. And
Yeah,
Sorry,
that's for
guys.
sure.
Sorry, you let him in, Glenn.
No doubt about
Don't
that.
do it. Oh, let Phil in. Not nice.
Set you up on that one there, Phil.
Oh man.
Yeah, that's perfect.
I'm
I like it. I
embarrassed.
like it when you come on, Glenn.
My dog.
The two
even
guys
woke
against
up.
Reese.
So
Yeah,
that's
it's
one
rough.
thing. Next thing is if you're into hunters or jumpers at all, the Plaid Horse Magazine has started their official weekly show. It's called the Plaidcast. Comes out every Saturday, and that's all about the world of hunter jumpers. That started, I think they're on their 5th episode now. And then another show starting here next week. We're very excited about. If you're into the world of racing at all, and I know Reese follows that a little bit. And Philip, you've been to races before.
Yeah, I'm a racing fan.
Pollock Report, which is one of the biggest websites for racing, for thoroughbred racing. Ray Pollock started that, and Ray is starting his own podcast. It'll be twice a month, and it'll all be about the world of thoroughbred racing. So he's going to be hosting it himself, and it's kind of going to be a behind-the-scenes, not a betting guide, but more he knows everybody. So he'll be talking to trainers and owners and just a kind of a behind-the-scenes lifestyle sort of show.
So what's the intended audience of that? Is that somebody
Everybody.
who's okay?
Everybody.
He really wants to gear it. That's why he's doing it more of a lifestyle show than
Than a real racing
Right.
analysis and
there's a lot of those around, and he really wants to get a little deeper. He's also going to be talking about afterlife of horses after racing. So
That's big.
perfect.
That's big in Lexington and in Kentucky. Obviously, we have a lot of horses, so it's big. So.
Yep, he'll be talking about that. So I'm excited about that show. All of these shows, the WEG show and the Plaidcast, are now available on the app, on our app at Horse Radio Network app, and also iTunes and all the usual podcast places, and on horseradionetwork.com. So that's the big news there. What other big news do I have for you guys? I just got back from ADA, which is the American Equestrian Trade Association trade show, and I thought about you guys because all the dressage stuff there.
Oh, I would love to go. I'm coming next year. Every year, Glenn gets back. I'm like, Phil, we got to go see all the new stuff. I love it. Like, that's what happens to me down here in Florida. Like, I go to the taqueria and they have all these cool little things, and I'm like, I need that brush, or I need this.
Oh, the
I've seen this
taqueria
before,
is
yes.
one of the best. Is that the store that everything's piled high?
Yes.
Yes, you have to go
love
in
that
there and you
store.
have to look. It's a great store.
That's an old-fashioned tack shop where everything's just stacked to the ceiling.
Yes, and that's how it is. And they have all kinds of cool, like, little gadgets and things. And you're like, oh, I didn't know that brush would change my life, but it does. I love it. So that's my favorite thing.
Dover has gone the boutique route. I really like going in like the taqueria where it is stacked to the ceiling like the old days. Yeah,
it's cool. Yeah. It's really cool.
Yeah. How about, all right, that's all the reports I have for you right now.
Oh, thank you, Glenn. Thanks for coming on our show.
Yeah.
Don't forget about us, small people, when you're doing all that WEG stuff.
I know. Don't forget us. Don't forget our show.
And what's going on with you, Reese? What's the world in
the world of Wellington. Well, last week Laura Graves broke 80% with her freestyle last Friday night, and it was fantastic. Diddy looked great. Still a little rusty. I mean, this is the first time they've been out in a bit, but she looked great. Yeah, he looked solid. Really kind of blew the competition away. But honestly, Tina Wilhelmsen has a new horse, and she's from Sweden, and she does a beautiful job with her horses. And
she's always up there, no matter what horse she's riding. Right?
Exactly, it doesn't really matter. She basically come in on a donkey and do well. She's just one of those riders that
she's a great rider,
she's a great rider, and I really respect. And just to sit there and watch her ride is pretty amazing, and fantastic. And Toonie Page rode Woodstock and an incredibly difficult freestyle. I mean, I was sitting there with a good friend of ours, Heidi Basler, also a Grand Prix rider, and I'm like, Heidi, this thing is hard. I think Toonie even won they give an award on the most difficult freestyle, because now with the freestyles at the international level, they track the freestyles.
Yeah, we were talking about that.
Talked about that.
Mm-hmm. The difficult floor plans.
Yeah.
I also saw that, a friend of our show, Charlotte Yorst, won the Grand Prix Special, huh?
She did. Also had a great, start to the season. So it was really cool. I think the horses now, everyone's been here, almost a month. And
Yeah.
same here at my barn. Everyone's sort of getting in the groove and knows the system and knows what's going on. And
And
so
now,
that's
now they're trying to
fantastic.
qualify for the World Cup
Mhm,
freestyle and the World Cup
mhm,
finals going on in
mhm.
Omaha. So
That's right.
we'll have
We're
to
looking
track
forward to
that. Yeah.
that. Yep. And Philip and I are going to be there, and we want to have a listener meetup once we get out there, like we did at the last World Cup that we did. We would love to see everybody who's out there. So we'll kind of keep ears open for that because we'll figure out kind of a good location that we can meet up. I think that would be a lot of fun.
Yeah, we'll figure that out. Glenn is the king of the meetup, so we're gonna try and get some people out to our own, right?
Yep.
I know.
Just let me
It's
know. We'll
fantastic.
post it everywhere.
I love it. I love it. And we have our first horse show this week, which is pretty cool. So actually, right after this commercial break, we're going to take a little break and we'll come back and we're going to talk about kind of some tips for taking your horse to your first horse show.
This Nutrition Minute is brought to you by Kentucky Performance Products, the company that simplifies your search for research-proven nutritional supplements at kppusa.com.
The horse that matters to you matters to Kentucky Performance Products. Researchers have confirmed that as horses age, they naturally become less sensitive to insulin and more susceptible to health problems caused by too much sugar in the diet. One way to reduce the sugar content in a horse's diet is to replace sugar-laden grains with a high-fat supplement. Fat is an extraordinary energy source. It is readily utilized by the horse and contains more than 2 times the calories of sugary grains. Equijewel Stabilized Rice Bran is an excellent fat supplement. It contains a balanced calcium to phosphorus ratio and won't cause mineral imbalances when added to the diet. Its all-natural ingredients are high in healthy fat and fiber. Best of all, Equijewel allows owners to easily replace the calories previously supplied by sugary grains. When you need to add healthy calories to your horse's diet, choose Equijewel. To learn more, visit Kentucky Performance Products at kppusa.com.
Well, Phil, today was a pretty big day here in our neighborhood. I live in the White Fences neighborhood. We have a farm here, which is we're actually like 15, 20 minutes from Wellington proper. But we have our own horse shows out here in the neighborhood.
Well, the White Fences show. It's actually, they have some nice rings out there. It's a very pleasant
absolutely.
show. Yeah.
Yeah. And Adam just redid all of the rings, and the facility looks great. He's done a lot of work to kind of get his facility up and going the way it needs to be. And I think Adam he's the owner, and he's also a bit of a botanist, I think. I mean, there's beautiful flowers everywhere.
Yeah, there is some beautiful foliage. Yeah. A little bit not as big as the ring in Wellington. The rings in Wellington, they're a little bit like
different.
More flags, more showy. This is low key, and I think the horses are a little bit more relaxed over there in White Fences. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so too. And it's pretty, I think it's probably a very unique place, but everybody, you can hack into the horse show grounds, which changes, you can take your trailer, but you can also just tack up in your barn and walk down and ride your test and walk back, which is pretty unique, I think, for a horse show.
Great experience.
Yeah, so
tell us a little about your trip.
Yeah. So everybody knows that I have a new young horse. Follow Me, his name, and we also call him Mikey. So Phil can tell you, I'm not the bravest. Everyone can say that. And I don't love taking young horses. Phil was much more confident with taking young ones to the horse show, but I currently owned a young one, so I needed to take him to the horse show. So I thought it was very fitting to kind of have a discussion with Phil and I about some strategies for taking your horse to the first horse show. And how do you do that? Because I think that it scares, or you can take horse show, clinic, off the property, whatever you want to do, because I think there's a lot of anxiety that comes with it. I'm a professional rider, but I don't love it. I'm going to feel a lot better tomorrow than I did this morning about taking him off the property. And again, this is here in White Fence is a little bit different that we walk in, but we also have the ability. I mean, there are little farms, and my friends are next door, and I can just say, hey, can I come and ride in your ring today, or can I walk down the road and ride in your ring today? which is quite nice. And we can be really focused on that. But that's not the most real life situation. But I think, like for me today, I would have liked to have gone on a few more outings. Just sort of didn't work that way. And I finally, when the horse show kind of came up, I thought, I got to do this sometime. And, Mikey's not been here super long, but we're doing training level. We're not going to the Olympics yet by any means. But I said, okay, I'm gonna enter him, and I decided to go ahead and enter him in the actual horse show. I could have also gone and done a non-compete, but again, it's a kind of an economical horse show here.
So today you're not competing,
today
right?
not
You just
competing.
were you able to actually ride in the ring in which you'll be competing in?
Yes. So today was the first day that I could ride. So our strategy was, it's a 4-day show. You could go down and ride. And so today we actually started him here in our own ring. Lunged him a little bit, and then I rode him just for 5-10 minutes just to make sure we had. And then Meredith, shout out to my assistant for the winter. She was great. I said to her yesterday, I said, "Hey, I need you to walk with me," which is quite a far walk. I got to ride, so I didn't have to walk. But so I did have someone on a lunge line. Just in case, just a little bit of helping him. I could have taken another horse with him, but this time I decided to just take him on his own with a person.
Yeah,
So
that's a huge tip right there. We say you got to have a person.
Yeah, you got to have
the horse up, get on him. Did you do any lunging before you walked down there?
We did lunge him, actually. And my trainer, Michael Klemka, was here. And actually, Michael, I was getting off my other horse and off a hello, and Michael lunged him for a few minutes, just to make sure everybody was safe and sound. And then I rode him with Michael here for a few minutes. And then we sort of, as a group, went down to the horse show. Meredith was the only one that walked, I'm not going to lie. So Meredith walked with me. But that, again, having a person and having someone, then make sure you're safe. And we took a lunge line just in case anything went bad. We had a lunge line. And we started the march down there. It's about a 15-minute walk if you don't spook at every palm tree. We spooked at a lot of palm trees. We looked at a bunch of stuff. And but we did it. We got there. And the other thing was, we had plenty of time. And I think that's a really incredibly important tip on that particular day. If that's at the horse show or that's your first experience doing whatever you're doing, make sure you have time, like plenty of time. I didn't have to be anywhere. I didn't have to do anything. Didn't actually, overall, it only took a total about an hour, but we had plenty of time. And that's really important. And so we walked down to the horse show and made sure we had our numbers, and all of that was taken care of before. So he didn't have to wait and stand around, because that probably wasn't going to be an option. And so we went today, and he'll go again tomorrow. I didn't enter the horse show till actually Saturday, because I felt like this would give him 2 solid days to go. And again, I could have non-competed him. That may be the strategy I should have taken, but I went ahead and just did, okay, we'll do 2 days of schooling. And, if it's not going to work, we'll school a 3rd day. And if that doesn't work, we'll school a 4th day. So I tried to give myself some options, not sort of back myself into a corner. So, Phil, what do you think? I mean, what are sort of your strategies? I'll let you all know how it works after the end.
Yeah,
but,
we'll have to find out next week what the result is going to be.
What the result was. But he was very good. I mean, he's really not been anywhere. I mean, he went from the breeder's farm to Michael's farm to America. So, I mean, you could tell he was just like, oh my God. But this is a really good, kind-hearted soul. I mean, he's a very, very good character. I feel like I know him pretty well, and Michael knows him better actually than I do. And so to have Michael there with me was awesome, because he's got a good character. Just give yourself 5 minutes. And he was definitely a little bit nervous and tense in the back and that kind of stuff, but we really didn't do anything that naughty or anything bad. So
I think sort of the preparation for a horse show starts at home with riding outside. In Canada, we're stuck inside for a long time, even if it's just walking around. If you have a nice outdoor ring with little white fences all set up and all that great stuff, that's awesome. If you don't, that's fine too. You could try and use some poles, but at the horse shows that we go to, there tends to be some flower boxes around by the letters and things. You got to have a sense of what is the ring that you're planning to show in going to look like, and try and recreate those situations at home. I know that Reese, you have some flower boxes inside, you know, just some stuff the horse to look at, so you know what are they going to do. You know, what does my horse do when he spooks? Because they all have a little different tricks, right? Some stop and look, you know, really stick their neck out and need to look at the thing. So, you know, sometimes, you know, some horses will get past it and then get spooked by it. Some horses will run up and then just turn around the other way. So you got to have a little bit of sense that you got to, you know, start to acclimatize your horse to some of these things, and so that you have a sense of what's going to happen, right? You know, does he fall? Does he stop? Does, you know, whatever. So, you know, we try to prepare the horses for that before we ever go anywhere. You know, give them some things to look at. Go out and buy a flower pot with some of those fake flowers in it or whatever.
Dollar store. I go to the dollar store and I get them all over and put them everywhere.
Yeah. So that's, I mean, that's always a good idea, you know, to try and figure that out. And then, like you said, lots of time. You know, we have a 4-year-old that needs to go out and look at some stuff this spring before we take him to a horse show. So I've got lots of neighboring farms that we're going to trailer him to, and that he can, you know, and when I take a horse out, I'm planning like half a day, you know, one horse, half a day.
Yep.
To take your time, walk him around in tack, do some lunging. You know, it's just all about creating a great experience and not a rushed, hurried situation.
Yeah.
And then, you know, so I take them to the farms. One of the farms that hosts some small shows allows me to go there all the time. So, and they have a nice outdoor ring and nice little white fences all set up like that. So hopefully you can figure out a situation like that in which you can really prepare the horse. You know, you have to be really confident before you ever enter a show, like in front of a judge, before you're riding in front of a judge. Another thing that people don't realize is, you know, warm-up situation. You have to maybe practice at home riding with 2, 3, 4 other horses so that they're used to a warm-up. That's a big thing with dressage horses, is because, you know, we tend to take private lessons. We tend to do things on our own. We tend to like our own open space to ride in, especially the young guys when they might like to, you know, fall out, you know, and just do their own leg thing half the time. And they're like, well, I don't want to ride with anybody because I don't want to disturb what they're doing. And I really like to have them in space. But that's a problem because I think the biggest thing is getting over the warm up, you know, having another rider ride straight at you, you know, being on a diagonal and somebody else coming along. That's very nerve wracking for a young horse, more than the stuff that they're going to see, because if you do a good job introducing them to things, then they're maybe not going to spook at that. But, you know, they got other riders. They got trainers, you know, yelling in the warm-up. Like, if your horse is not used to that either, like, hey, you know, so I think it's a little bit about being aware of what is the situation you're going to put the horse into. So what I try and tell people to do, if you have a young horse, you're doing a first show, don't go out and do the first show of the season at all. Don't take your horse to the like. So they tend to start in May for us. You're not going to go to those ones because it's going to have tons of crazy people there, tons of people with their first experience at a horse show. That's not a good thing for a young horse. You know, maybe you go and you check out the situation. You want to have a look around, you know, what to expect. You know, how does this show work? You know, as long as you're, you know, you got to be comfortable with that so that you can go and you know what's going on, right? You know, where do you have to get your number? You know, where's the ring stewards? Where's, you know, and then so, you know, for us, I really like to, you know, take the horses to the long shows where it's like 3-4 days. So the first day is like you did today, some warm. You can get into the rings, and you can do that. And sometimes I'll just take a young horse for that day of warm up, and then another day where I'll just school in the warm up rings, not even show the horse, and then take him home. So it might be a 4-day show, and that horse spends 2 days there. Yeah, that's fine, right? I think it's just creating situations for success, right? And then the next day he can spend the whole weekend with his buddies and his friends, right? But for me, that can also be super stressful to have that horse there for 4 days. I mean, they get crazy in the stalls because horses are coming and going, and they're not used to there's no routine to it. So, you know, I like to have 2 days there at least, you know, can have an overnight, and then, then they can go home, and, you know, they can have 2 rides and then they can go home, something like that, you know, just bit by bit. It's so important to give them a very good experience rather than a full-on horse show experience. So for me, 4-year-olds, they will do training level, maybe, you know, it doesn't matter how they do in the ring, you know, competitively how they do in the ring. They just have to get around. And I think the judges understand that too, that, you know, horses at those early beginning classes, they might misbehave a little bit. Hopefully you get a good judge that's going to allow you some time to kind of work through your problems. If your horse does spook and run the other way, that you can come back and get some experience in the ring. You give them a big pat and you go home and you're fine, right? So I think having your trainer there is great because they're going to give you confidence and some advice and what to do. Having another person there, like a groom, who's going to be able to, hook the lead line up and lead you places if that's what you need, and take it and just take it slow. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think those are all really such good tips. And the other thing I just want to mention, and because we did actually practice this, is getting on the trailer. This is a big thing for me. Like, I can't stand it when horses don't load because I may not have the time to do it, but I'll find someone that does. We have a great mounted police at home, Lisa Rakes, so does with the young horses, the babies, my yearlings will load. So I don't put up with that very well or do a good, because it's just practice and time. And what happens is when everyone's ready for the horse show and then everyone's nervous and freaking out, then the horses, then they don't load. And then, so we actually did practice that with Mikey last week. I wanted to make sure he knew how to load and that getting on and off the trailer wasn't a big deal. And he was perfect and loaded right in there and it was fine. But if he hadn't, I had given myself enough, a good week and a half to deal with that situation. So if I decided that I was going to take him in the trailer, which I may do, I don't know yet. So yeah,
we'll figure it out. I mean, there's lots of people that are great horsemen that help and give trailer loading ticket clinics and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's great. Again, it's you don't want you to be rushed and you don't want to be nervous. The horse nervous coming off that trailer and now you got to do this, you got to do that. One step at a time. That's what it is.
No, I think you're right.
Yeah, if you don't show until the horse is 5 years old, 6 years old, I mean, whatever, good experience that lasts a lifetime, right? Because they have one bad experience and you're in trouble. That just takes so long to turn that around in that situation. So
Yes, exactly. So I totally agree. And so I think now is a really good time for everyone here in Florida, if you're in Florida or at home up north, is to think about maybe some different venues you can take your young horses to, or even a new horse. I mean, I think when you take a new horse, it's the same concept. When you take your old steady eddies, and now I have a group of horses that have been showing now for this will be their third show year, and they're so nice. They're so good at the horse shows. And you forget, like, oh, you were not this nice back in the day. So,
yeah, I mean, even for us in the winter, if you can find a way to get pull your truck and trailer into the arena and practice some loading, that's a great situation to be doing right now. It's something different than just riding and spending your time making sure your horse is good to load. That's huge.
Yeah, don't do it on the ice. Don't do it outside.
Don't do it outside. Do it in the arena.
That's a really good idea. Good idea, Phil. Well, good, and I hope that helps everybody. I mean, I think it was a topic that I don't think we've talked about it or given people tips on the show, and it was very obviously front and center for us today. But it was fun, and I will keep everyone updated on how it goes. Like I said, my expectation is to stay on and have a really good experience. And if I get in the horse show ring, that would be great. And if not, it will be a really, really good experience, and we'll be ready for the next one. So that's my plan.
All right. Well, good luck.
Thank you. Thanks. Okay. Well, right after this commercial break, we're going to come back with a Total Saddle Fit Trainer tip of the week.
Fairfield Inn & Suites North by Marriott Lexington is the ideal hotel for you, as they are the closest hotel to the Kentucky Horse Park. They have the most spacious guest rooms and suites in the area, and they're only 4 miles from downtown Lexington. Fairfield Inn & Suites North offers complimentary breakfast, free Wi-Fi throughout the hotel, free parking, a business center, an indoor swimming pool and jacuzzi, an outdoor patio with grill, laundry facilities, and much more. You get hungry, Cracker Barrel is located right next door, and there are 4 other dining options available within walking distance for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Of course, Lexington is known for the Kentucky Horse Park, University of Kentucky, Keeneland, and the historical Kentucky Bourbon Trail. Enjoy a terrific hotel experience while you're touring Lexington. There's no denying that the Lexington North Fairfield Inn & Suites is the best value in town and will meet all your hospitality needs. Just Google Fairfield Inn North Lexington and make your reservations today. This week's dressage training tip is brought to you by Total Saddle Fit, home of the shoulder relief girth at TotalSaddleFit.com.
Well, Phil, for this week's Total Saddle Fit tip of the week, we were going to talk about the synthetic
Shoulder relief
girth.
Yeah. Which we've been loving, right?
Exactly.
Had a little while.
I love it. I love it. Well, especially now that the horses are sweating. Now we are essentially in a very hot climate. And as I definitely told Justin, we sometimes will hose the girths off. He didn't really like that.
You're not gonna feel like bad about hosing off
not bad.
as his nice leather girths, right?
Yeah, exactly. I don't feel bad at all. And I actually we use it on my Frisian. On a client's horse, but I love this horse, and it works really well for him because he actually is a really sweaty, kind of gross guy, and you know what I mean. And the normal Total Saddle Fit girth is fantastic, and he had one of those before. But I thought, he's kind of sweaty and nasty. Let me try this, and I've had great success with it. And Merlin goes really well in it. And
how have you found the saddle fit? I know with that horse and with the Frisians that I ride, I get some saddle slippage.
Yeah, not with this girth at all. It doesn't slip at all. I haven't had any trouble actually. And he like I said, he's more sweaty and grimy. But before we started using the Total Saddle Fit girths, he did have a bit of a girth gall. So that went away when we used the Total Saddle Fit shoulder relief girths.
That's good to hear. Yeah.
We're huge fans of these products, and Justin is amazing. He's great with customer service and giving advice on saddles. But this is an awesome option. The price point's a little bit lower, but I love it, and I do like my girths cleaned every day. And
the thing that I found with this girth that I really liked is that I found that with other girths I was on this particular horse as well. He's a little rounder, so you get a little saddle slippage. That was a problem. And the second problem is I was having to do the girth up like every 10 minutes in my ride.
Yes.
Like, I'm trotting. Now I got to tighten the girth up.
Stop.
Now I want to canter. I got to tighten the girth up, and I think that's related to the slippage and related to the funny coat. The Frisians have a different coat. So
they do.
And they sweat. And like you said, they sweat a little bit more than the warm bloods or the thoroughbreds or whatever. So, I think that was all sort of a related issues. With the synthetic girth, solved.
Tough, yeah.
And, for me, I'm not. I like the price point for sure, but I tend not to go towards. I'm going to call it the cheaper girths, right? Because I just think, I should be spending this much to get this quality, right? But even though this one's synthetic, I think the quality is there. It has the great shoulder relief shape of it. I think that helps the fit a lot. So I'm going to get better saddle fit, and the ability to hose it off and not worry about it too much is great. So far it's held up very well to the riding and the everyday use, and I'm sure that it will continue because all the other products that Justin has sent have worn really well and been totally worth the money. I think this one is 2 times worth the money, so it's great.
I love it. Well, excellent. Well, we have a fantastic Total Saddle Fit tip of the week from Nora Batchelder. I hope you enjoy. We are so happy to have Nora Batchelder on the show again. We snagged her for the Total Saddle Fit tip of the week, and Nora is from Williston, Florida. She is a gold, silver, and bronze medalist and has ridden in multiple CDIs, and she is the trainer at River House Hanoverians. Nora, welcome back to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Well, we have a great trainer tip that we were just off air, and Philip and you both who are having issues or training opportunities with this particular tip. So, Nora, tell us what your tip is.
Okay, so my tip is for riders who are starting to ride canter, half-ass, zigzags. A lot of people, I find their first year at Pre St. George, when they're starting these zigzags, they have a hard time in the second leg of the zigzag getting the horse's haunches leading. So I like to tell my students that as they're cantering in their first leg of the half pass, I have them push the haunches just a stride past the center line or a little past the shoulder. And then as they do the change, their haunches are over a little bit, so they land in shoulder 4, and they're ready to start the new half pass with the shoulders leading. And a little bit the same thing, when they finish the zigzag, I have them push the haunches just a tiny bit over towards the wall, so that when they do the flying change, they land nicely in shoulder 4 and look really straight for the judge.
I love it. So
It's a great tip.
yeah, it's a great tip. Can we talk about, let's break it down just a touch. Talk to me about bringing or keeping the shoulders in front in the half pass. Let's just start with basic, just with the half pass. How do you keep the shoulders in front or when you're starting the canter half pass?
Well, I mean, I like to think you come around the corner, keep the horse a little bit in shoulder 4. You think you're almost turning the shoulders onto the line a little bit and then sort of bringing the haunches with you. So you make sure you start with those shoulders leading.
I love it. I love it. So
For me, I always start, I always teach people to do the half pass on a diagonal line because it's one of those things that you can get riding your half pass like a leg yield, right? Where you're just more concerned about sideways than the lines. You have to really ride the zigzag like 2 diagonal lines, not like pushing the horse sideways this way and then pushing the horse sideways the other way. You always riders when they learn to do canter half pass always make the hind legs lead, and it's very simple to do that and feel really nice and sideways, but that's not the purpose of half pass. You have to tell the riders to ride ride the half pass as if it's bending on a straight line, right? Not going sideways. I think that's everybody gets concerned with feeling sideways, and that's not the way it's done. So
right.
And in the zigzag, really ride it like a V. Like you have a destination across the ring in mind, you point the shoulders there, and then you bring the hind legs, right? Get the horse pointed the direction where you want to be and where you want to end up. And then the second part is bringing the hind legs. That's always the easy part. Get the horse to bend around your leg. And if you've done your homework and you've done your riding, well up to that point, it's about, what is it, 4th level where you do your first zigzag?
Yeah.
I think somewhere in there. So, yeah, it's very tricky movement, and it's very tricky to sort of learn how to position the horse in the flying changes, because at 3rd level, what you're looking for is just a successful change. Hind leg first, the horse comes through, stays on the bit, is pretty balanced. If you can get that done, you can do 3rd level. And then 4th level, you've got to actually put the shoulders and the hind legs in more, position them better. So that's a lot harder than just riding a simple flying change. So you got to put that on the lines and be, I always ride the last step of half pass on a zigzag and a little bit of leg yield. So you're positioning the horse to the new way, starting your new bend, do the change, and then start your way across another diagonal line. But again, like you said, Nora, you don't want the horses end up swinging their hind legs and going sideways this way, then sideways that way, and both ways the horse is leading with his butt, and you're not going to get very good marks doing that. So it's a great tip, and it's really tough to do. And
it is.
Take some videos so that you can see.
Yeah, have someone.
You don't have mirrors. Yeah.
If you can't see, but I think, Nora, your last point was to make sure that you finish the diagonal line with the haunches. And I like to kind of tell my people, my students, to finish in one step of renvers. I think that's a visual that we've all done. And I think but the trick of the zigzag is you have to get there in time to do that. I think so many people get bunched up and don't have time because they haven't kept the shoulders and haven't gone sideways enough that they get into that corner and then they're in trouble. So I think that that's a really important and was a great way to mention that, was make sure you finish what you're still, make sure you finish it before you do the flying change, because so many horses will dart to the new inside leg when you do that flying change.
Yeah. And you want your last flying change, it's closest to the judge at sea, to look nice and straight.
Yes. Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I mean, I think, and so you got to get there early enough and be prepared enough to make that happen. So I think that that's a huge part of it. So no, I think that that's a fantastic tip. Well, Nora, thank you so much for coming and staying on the show with us and doing tonight's Total Saddle Fit Tip of the Week. And how would our listeners find you online?
So thanks for having me, and you can find me online at my website. It's rhnavarians.com, or you can contact me through Facebook.
Fantastic. Thanks, Nora, for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Well, as always, we love email and Facebook shout outs. We just got a great question from a listener about some flying changes. So we will get that on the show as soon as we can. And we will look forward to it. So as always, we love email and Facebook shout outs. It makes filling my day for sure. Well, you can find our show notes and links to today's guests on our website, dressageradio.com. Like us on Facebook, just search Dressage Radio Show. Follow us on Twitter at Horse Radio. My website is maplecrestfarmky.com, and my email is reese@horseradionetwork.com.
The best way to find me, I think, is through Facebook, or my email is philip@horseradionetwork.com. I'd like to thank our sponsors this week for allowing us to put on a good show. And don't forget to check out all the other shows on the Horse Radio Network at horseradionetwork.com.
Everybody, keep your heels down and your shoulders back, and we'll talk to you next week.